Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream sheets and the Percal bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Percal queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to MyPillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. MyPillow.com, promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Welcome in. We have the results for you from all the important races yesterday. Spoiler alert. It was not a good night for Republicans in some key races and could have implications for the continued government shutdown, as many thought the Democrats would suffer defeats yesterday and people would blame the party for the shutdown, and maybe they'd have a different attitude today. Well, that didn't exactly happen. Also, speaking of the shutdown, legendary football coach Lou Holtz, never one to mince words, says there is no free lunch. And it's time for Democrats to reopen the government and to stop promising people everything. We have the details on that as well. Here we go again, another showdown in Washington over accountability, transparency, and what conservatives say is the growing weaponization of the justice system. Texas Congressman Brandon Gill has officially filed articles of impeachment against U.S. District Judge James Boasberg. You remember that name, Boasberg? We have the update on that as well. I have a lot to cover today, so let's get started with the disappointing election results in some of the key races.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills, but I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
To start with New Jersey, where Democrat Representative Mikey Sherrill won the race for New Jersey governor last night, capitalizing on an anti-Trump sentiment to deliver her party a much-needed victory after last year's losses up and down the ballot. And again, polling indicated that there was a bit of an anti-Trump sentiment going into these races yesterday. The Associated Press called the race a little before 9:30 last night for Sherrill over Republican Jack Ciattarelli, a former member of the state assembly who was making his third run for governor. She will succeed term-limited Democrat Governor Phil Murphy, giving Democrats a third term in a row in the governor's mansion, a feat that has not been accomplished in the Garden State since 1961. And just another indicator that the Democrats have a strong hold on New Jersey. There was some hope that New Jersey was turnable, that we could get back to the days of a Republican like Christine Todd Whitman winning that race. Sherrill will be the second female governor in New Jersey history. Over in Virginia, unofficial results showing former Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger has been elected the next governor of Virginia, defeating Republican Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earl Sears in a closely watched race as well. And let's face it, this marks a major win for Democrats in a battleground state with national implications. Spanberger is considered a moderate Democrat with a background in national security and CIA service. She leaned heavily into opposition to President Trump's policies throughout her campaign. Just another instance of a Democrat candidate being anti-Trump. And it seems that strategy paid off, especially in Northern Virginia, where tens of thousands of federal workers have been caught in the crossfire of a prolonged government shutdown under the Trump administration. Polls had Spanberger up by double digits leading into Election Day. She delivered on that momentum. Democrats also massively outspent Republicans, with Spanberger and her allies dropping a reported $50 million on ads, more than double what Earl Sears' campaign and GOP group spent. $50 million to win a governor's race. I don't know what the governor of Virginia earns, but nowhere close to that. Probably not much more than $200,000-$300,000 at the most. Meanwhile, in the lieutenant governor's race, Democrat Ghazala Hazmi defeated Republican John Reed, making history as the first Muslim woman elected to statewide office. And when you combine that with New York, which we're going to get to in just a minute, I mean, there's sort of a trend here in some of these areas with Muslims winning these races. Now, Mr. Reed would have been the first openly gay Republican elected statewide office nationally, actually. He faced the late controversy after GOP opposition research reportedly uncovered explicit online posts connected to him, something that Governor Glenn Youngkin's team quietly tried to distance themselves from. So maybe it just wasn't a good choice there. Speaking of Youngkin, he was term limited, couldn't seek re-election. And while President Donald Trump did phone in for a tele-rally with Ms. Earl Sears, he stopped short of formally endorsing her, even avoiding her name during a campaign stop in the state. I don't know if it's intentional or just overlooking it. So with Spanberger heading into the governor's mansion and Democrats flipping both state offices, Virginia swings pretty firmly blue, once again showing its political independence just a year after a Republican, Donald Trump, returned to the White House. But the most disturbing of the races yesterday, of these bigger races that we were watching, New York mayor. A record number of New Yorkers made their voices heard in this very heated historic election that pegged a socialist as a Democrat candidate against a three-term former governor running as an independent and a Republican candidate who just wouldn't call it quits. More than 2 million New Yorkers voted. That's the most since 1969, the mayoral election that saw John Lindsay win City Hall. The City Board of Elections said around 9 p.m. that this was a record turnout. Some 124,000 mail-in ballots came in addition to 730,000 who voted early. It was just a record day for voters to turn out in New York City. Now, that's encouraging in that people are interested in going to the polls and voting, as opposed to some of the lackluster turnout we've seen in other races yesterday. But it's disturbing that they would have voted for a Democrat socialist like Mamdani. He's going to change the face of New York City and probably going to do it pretty quickly. Of the Big Apple's 5.1 million registered voters as of mid-year, 11% were Republicans, 65% identified as Democrats, and the remaining 1.1 million were not aligned with any party. So I guess it's not a big surprise that a Democrat would win. It's just a surprise that they would embrace this Mamdani, and as radical as he is. The 33-year-old from Queens clinched victory last night, defeating two very high-profile challengers, former Governor Andrew Cuomo, Republican Curtis Lewa, in a race that literally has flipped the city's political landscape on its head. And it didn't take long. I mean, it was a very decisive win. The Newsmax decision desk headquarters called the race literally minutes after polls closed last night because of such a wide margin. Mamdani ran on a bold left-wing platform, fair, free public transit, universal child care, a publicly run grocery store in every borough, and a $30 minimum wage by the end of the decade. $30 minimum wage. So it's no wonder these young people got out to vote for him, because they just don't understand that that's not sustainable. He's also pledged to raise taxes on corporations and the wealthy to fund it all. People started packing up, and the moving truck started moving last night soon after the polls closed, and they saw that this young man had won. Supporters are calling it a people-powered movement that marks a new chapter for New York City. Critics, including President Trump, have blasted Mamdani as a communist lunatic, warning that his agenda could worsen the city's financial troubles and drive it out of business. I'm going to go with Trump's prediction there. And you got to understand that his win is going to deepen the rift within the Democrat Party. It's going to put New York at the center of a national debate about the future of progressive politics. It's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be disappointing, though, to see a city like New York literally go down the tubes this quickly. Also, quickly, Proposition 50 in California also passed. This ballot measure allows a Democrat legislature to adopt a more favorable congressional map for the next 3 election cycles, stripping that power from an independent commission. This is a victory for Governor Gavin Newsom, who led a campaign to pass the measure in response to Texas's mid-decade redistricting. You got to know they're going to eliminate some Republican congressional seats. Some experts say they could eliminate as many as 5. It was an interesting day yesterday. We'll have more results for you later in the show. Let's be honest, those summer vacations and backyard barbecues added some extra pounds, right? But instead of feeling guilty or falling further behind, it's time to reset, drop the weight, and get back in control. The solution isn't a shot. Real lasting weight loss starts with your mind, not your mouth. At PhD Weight Loss, Dr. Ashley Lucas and her team help you uncover the real reasons behind your weight gain so that you can reprogram the way you think about food forever. PhD clients lose up to a third of their body weight without ever taking a drug. I know because I lost 33 pounds with PhD weight loss. Through real food, behavioral coaching, and proven science, your body can become a natural fat-burning machine. Why risk spending thousands on shots that strip away muscle, come with dangerous side effects, and leave most people regaining 60% of the weight within a year? With PhD, you'll activate your body's natural appetite control, burn fat safely, and stay in control. Even if you're already on Ozempic, PhD can help you transition off while still losing weight. Take the first step today. Call 864-644-1900 or visit myphdweightloss.com. Well, here we go again. Another showdown in Washington over accountability, transparency, and what conservatives say is the growing weaponization of the justice system. Latest news, Texas Congressman Brandon Gill has officially filed articles of impeachment against U.S. District Judge James Boasberg, accusing him of abusing his power by signing off on secret subpoenas that allowed the Biden Justice Department to spy on Republican lawmakers. Now, if the name Boasberg sounds familiar, it should. He's been at the center of controversy before. It's not the first time. Boasberg is the chief judge of the U.S. District Court in Washington, D.C., and in recent months, his name has surfaced in connection with special counsel Jack Smith's Arctic Frost investigation, which sought phone records and communications from a group of Republican senators and at least one House member. Now, Congressman Gill says enough is enough. The congressman told Fox News Chief Judge Boasberg has compromised the impartiality of the judiciary and created a constitutional crisis. He's weaponized his power against his political opponents, including Republican members of Congress who are faithfully serving the American people. His lack of integrity makes him clearly unfit for the gavel. Pretty strong words from a lawmaker who's not afraid to take on the D.C. establishment. Gill's a freshman lawmaker, too, by the way. His impeachment resolution obtained by the media and released yesterday accuses Boasberg of one count of abuse of power, specifically for granting special counsel Smith authorization to issue what Representative Gill calls frivolous non-disclosure orders as part of the FBI's Project Arctic Frost. According to the text of the resolution, these orders were not just aimed at political operatives or campaign staff. They targeted sitting members of Congress, men and women protected under Article 1, Section 6 of the U.S. Constitution, better known as the Speech or Debate Clause. That clause exists for a reason, to shield lawmakers from being intimidated or prosecuted for performing their legislative duties. It's a cornerstone of separation of the powers, but Gill and his Republican allies say that protection was violated when Judge Boasberg allowed federal investigators to secretly seize communications belonging to Republican senators without notifying them. The story broke wide open last month when Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley released redacted Arctic Frost documents. Those documents revealed that phone records for 10 senators and one House lawmaker were subpoenaed by Jack Smith's team, and that gag orders were sent to Verizon and AT&T, instructing them not to alert lawmakers that their data had been seized. Verizon complied. AT&T refused to do so. Both subpoenas and the gag orders were signed by Judge Boasberg. That revelation sent shockwaves through Washington. I mean, of course, you can kind of imagine that, can't you? Everybody's wondering now, do they have my records? Did they subpoena mine? Did Verizon turn mine over? And it, of course, has sparked outrage from Republicans who say this wasn't an investigation, it was political espionage, and they're right. Texas Senator Ted Cruz blasted the operation, calling it worse than Watergate. Senator Cruz said this is a gross violation of prosecutorial powers. Had a hard time getting that word out. The idea that the Department of Justice would secretly obtain the private communications of elected senators should terrify every American regardless of party, Senator Cruz said. And he's right, because you got to know that if they got Republicans, they're going to get Democrats too, or at least it would leave the door wide open to do so. So what is the Arctic Frost investigation? It, according to court filings, was a Justice Department project launched under the Biden administration to investigate what officials describe as foreign influence and information flow between elected officials and outside entities. Republicans say it was nothing more than a cover to monitor political opponents of the administration, including some who were vocal critics of the 2024 election aftermath and Trump-related prosecutions. Now, under the Stored Communications Act, judges must sign off on these kinds of subpoenas and non-disclosure orders. They're not automatic, meaning Judge Boasberg had the discretion to say no. He didn't want to say no, though. He loved this idea, I'm sure. Now, it's unclear what evidence he reviewed before approving those orders, because most of the related materials remains classified or heavily redacted, so we'll never know what he was really thinking or what information he had. Representative Gill's impeachment filing argues that Boasberg's that he failed to exercise that discretion responsibly, instead greenlighting politically motivated surveillance that undermines constitutional protections for lawmakers and the people they represent. Now, this isn't, again, the first time that Judge Boasberg has found himself in Republican crosshairs. Earlier this year, Boasberg drew fire from the Trump administration for issuing an order temporarily halting deportation flights to El Salvador. That made headlines, and that's probably where you might remember his name from. This move, critics said, was another example of judicial overreach designed to undermine Trump administration policy, and it was. At that time, several House Republicans, including Gill, floated the idea of impeachment, but they kind of backed off. This time, though, Representative Gill appears ready for a fight. He said, "I'm proud to once again introduce articles of impeachment against Judge Boasberg to hold him accountable for his high crimes and misdemeanors." Of course, impeachment of a federal judge is rare and probably is a political uphill battle. The process would start in the House Judiciary Committee, where Republicans hold a narrow majority and would need full House approval before heading to the Senate for a trial. Given Democrats control of the or having enough votes to keep a vote from happening in the Senate, probably not going to happen. But it sends a message. Gill and his allies are drawing a line in the sand, arguing that judges who play politics with their power should not sit on the bench, should not have a gavel in their hand, and that's a great message to send to these guys. As the shutdown continues, still no daylight in sight, legendary football coach Lou Holtz, never one to mince words, is weighing in on the shutdown. And let's just say Coach is bringing that same fire to Washington that he once brought to the sidelines in South Bend and in Columbia, South Carolina. In a video posted yesterday to X, the College Football Hall of Famer did not hold back. He called the current stalemate unfair and blasted what he sees as an unhealthy and dangerous culture of government dependence. A system, he says, that some politicians are all too happy to maintain, and he targeted the Democrats when he was talking about this, that the Democrats want people to be dependent upon the government so that they will keep voting for them. Here's an excerpt of the coach's video message yesterday.
People could get money from the government. I believe up until 1947, that really never happened. It was up to you to take care of yourself. and you found a way to do it. I was born during the Depression. My father had a third-grade education. Things didn't always go very easy. But my father worked a lot of different odd jobs in order to put food on the table for the family. We never had an awful lot. But what you did then, you bought what you could afford. Not what you wanted, but what you could afford. And that was so critical. When I see what the government is doing, it's unfair. It's unbelievable. It's not the way it was set up to be. And yet we're trying to play games. Just open up the government, let it function along as we go along. But no, you want to make more people rely on you. That's why you want to give up government subsidies. As long as they rely on you, they'll vote for you. That's not the way it should be. People should be able to go vote for the way they honestly feel. I worry about the future of this country. Why is that? Because we got to the point where everything's about government and what can you do for me? And I'm going to vote for the person that promised me more free things than anything else. There's no free lunch.
There's no free lunch. That is a message everybody needs to hear, and we all need to be reminded of. And the government, the Democrats need to be reminded there is no free lunch. Somebody has to pay for all those give-me's that they're handing out and that they have the government frozen for right now, including Obamacare. The coach said what a lot of Americans are thinking, that this shutdown, now 35, 36 days in, has less to do with finding solutions and more to do about politics. He said, what I see, what the government is doing, it's unbelievable. That's not the way it was set up to be. And yet we're trying to play games, he said. And that he said is the real problem is that government dependency is what the Democrats are wanting. Now, he didn't say Democrats very many times in there, but you knew who he was talking about. Lou Holtz isn't just a football coach. He taught life lessons. And in this case, he's drawing from his own story growing up during the Great Depression and the post-World War II era. He said, I was probably 10 years old at the time. There was no help from government. And, you know, there's so many people like that. My mother, Nana Hudson, talks about how her mother raised 5 children, young children, when her husband, when my grandfather passed away. I never met my grandfather. He passed away when my mom was a child. And my grandmother had 5 kids that she raised, during that era. And she worked hard and she saved and she found a way to make it happen. She didn't have any government subsidies. She didn't have SNAP benefits. The sense of personal responsibility, Coach Holt said, is being replaced by an attitude of entitlement, a shift that worries him deeply, as does it worry me, and it should worry everybody. I think we all understand that as conservatives. It's classic Lou Holtz, direct, plain-spoken, rooted in the values that built this country, hard work, faith, and accountability. He said, I worry about the future of our country. Why is that? Because we've gotten to the point where everything is about government and what can you do for me? The former Notre Dame coach's comments come as the government shutdown heads into record-breaking territory, making it the longest in U.S. history, eclipsing the 2018-2019 shutdown from Donald Trump's first term. At the heart of the standoff, of course, a spending bill known as a continuing resolution, the Clean CR. Republicans in the Congress have been pushing for a short-term extension of last year's funding levels to keep the government open through November the 21st. Well, look, November the 21st is going to be here pretty soon now. The bill, of course, passed the House back in September. It's straightforward. There's no extra policy riders. There's just a stopgap to give lawmakers time to negotiate next year's budget. It even includes an $88 million boost for security at the White House, Congress, and the Supreme Court, a nod to growing threats against public officials. But Senate Democrats, led by Chuck Schumer and House Leader Hakeem Jeffries, have rejected the bill 13 times, insisting they won't agree to any funding packages unless it includes extensions to Obamacare subsidies, some of the give-me's that Coach Lou Holtz is talking about. Now, they're not proposing to eliminate Obamacare. They're proposing to eliminate the subsidies that were added during COVID. And the Democrats want you to believe, though, that if they don't include these subsidies, that Obamacare is going to go away. Are people going to pay more for health care? Probably so, because during COVID, they put in some subsidies that were just totally unrealistic. Senate Majority Leader John Thune and House Speaker Mike Johnson have both said they're willing to discuss health care provisions separately, but not tie them to reopening the government. In the meantime, the consequences are starting to pile up. Programs like SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, has been in the headlines these past few days. And another one called WIC, which helps women and children with food access. They're running low on funds. The president has said, hey, the courts have said I can do it now. We're going to work in the process of getting a partial funding done with some reserve funds, which kind of bothers me anyway. Coach Holtz isn't just frustrated by the politics. He's concerned about the bigger picture, like many of us are. To him, it's not just about budgets or bills. It's about the mindset of a nation that has forgotten how to rely on ourselves. That's the big message here from Lou Holtz. It's not necessarily about the shutdown. It's not necessarily about Republican politics, Democrat politics. It's about our overall culture that people have gotten to the point. There's a whole generation or two that thinks the government is supposed to do everything. You're running a little short this month, the government's supposed to give it to you. Can't or don't want to buy food because you're buying a new cell phone. Get SNAP benefits. Let the government buy the food so you can get that new phone. The coach reminded his audience that success isn't built on government handouts, but on perseverance and grit and hard work. He said they put together a group that tries to tear down the secret to success. And the secret to success is simple. It's doing the right thing the right way every single day. That sentiment echoed by generations of Americans who built their lives through hard work, like my grandmother, who worked hard to support her 5 kids. That's what you're talking about. It cuts to the core of the conservative worldview. It's not about opposing help for those who truly need it, but about rejecting a system that makes people dependent instead of empowering them to stand on their own. That's what it's all about. Again, we have a generation that thinks the government's supposed to give it to you because, they grew up and saw mommy and daddy getting free cell phones from Obama phones. Remember that? Remember when the Obama administration was giving away cell phones? That's what's wrong with our country. People just expect it. Lou Holtz is 87 years old. He's seen a lot of seasons on and off the field. And whether you agree with him or not, his warning about the dangers of dependency and political gamesmanship hits home for a lot of Americans who are tired of seeing Washington fail to do its job. And as this shutdown drags on, with no sign of resolution right now, Lou Holtz's message is a reminder that the strength of this country has always come from its people. We are what makes our country great. And we don't have to settle for this. It's not the politicians who promise to take care of everybody. They're not who makes our country successful. It's the people. And as he said, there's no free lunch. You take care of yourself. You take care of your family. It's your responsibility. That's how America used to be. That's how America used to work. And it's how we need to get back to that principle of pull yourself up by your own bootstraps and get it done. Help your family, help your neighbor, help your church. Create a community of taking care of one another, not counting on Uncle Sam to do it for you. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at FurmanFord.com, FurmanFord.com. In the very competitive, hotly contested South Carolina House District 21 race yesterday between Diane Mitchell and Steve Nell, Diane Mitchell appears to have won that. Of course, again, none of this is official till all the votes have been certified on Thursday, but it appears she won it with 22 votes, with 50.36% of the vote to Steve Nell's 49.64%. So we'll be watching this, but it appears that Diane Mitchell is successful with that. Also, over in Anderson County, I moderated a forum a few weeks back. They had a hotly contested referendum there on an additional penny sales tax. The current county council was asking for this to help with roads and bridges. Well, Anderson County voters did not buy it. They rejected it resoundingly, with the no votes coming in at 78.9% to the 21.1% yes votes. County leader said that its hands are full with problems to fix, with over 1,500 miles of county roads and approximately 196 miles of municipal roads to attend to. Anderson County Administrator Rusty Burns said the average cost to repair a mile of road right now can be between $800,000 to $1 million. Well, he's not going to get that extra penny because the voters in Anderson resoundingly rejected that as well. I asked you what you thought about the latest with Nancy Mace in yesterday's show and her foul-mouthed attack on law enforcement at the Charleston airport. Many of you had an opinion, and I didn't have a single person defending Ms. Mace. Now, if you're not familiar with the story, crawl out from under that rock. I'll refresh your memory. In summary, basically last Thursday, Ms. Mace was arrived at the Charleston airport. The security detail that she was expecting to meet her to escort her through the airport, which is something that's not unusual. I mean, this is something that a lot of members of Congress get. They weren't there when they did finally show up, and there was a miscommunication there, according to them. She berated them. She used the F word multiple times, and they wrote up an incident report about her actions and her language. And I asked you yesterday, I don't care who you are. Language like that sometimes just bothers me. And it's not the first time that Nancy Mace has done that. Many of you said you would not consider supporting her because of her language and because of her actions. Felicia Bobby on the MyPillow message line had this to say.
Joey Hudson, this is Felicia Bobby, and I want you to know, just because of Nancy Mace's language, I will definitely not be voting for her. Thank you.
Susan from Hartwell wrote, Nancy Mace is disgusting. Back in July 2023, when you still had your morning show on WGTK, talking to me, of course, she told people at a prayer breakfast that she was almost late because her fiancé tried to pull her back into bed. I've heard that story as well. Then several months ago, she got into an altercation at a pharmacy and was using the F word. And last Thursday, she copped an attitude with the Charleston Airport Police and used the F word. This suggests that she uses the F word on a regular basis. She calls herself Trump in heels. I call her Nikki Haley with a foul mouth. Thank you, Susan. I appreciate that. Texter, with the results in New York City and other races around the country yesterday, we're seeing a new face for the Democrat Party, and this may just be the beginning. I'm afraid you are correct. I'm afraid yesterday's results will just embolden the Democrats. What do you think? Send me a quick text. Email me, joe@joeyhudson.com. Leave me a message on the MyPillow message line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Donnie on the MyPillow message line says he has a problem with people who are not born in the U.S. moving here and running for office.
Why is it that it seems like people that are entering the representatives of our country, like Congress, congressmen, representatives, and all that stuff, are becoming more and more radical, or from other countries? Mandami from New York, and Ilhan Omar, and all of the squad, and all of them. I mean, just like you got to be born in this country. Why can't we come up with a law that's passed in Congress that and I mean nobody can represent any state or district if you're not born in this country? I do believe so that will solve a lot of things in this country. You got to be born in this country to make decisions for other Americans. How can you come from another country and do that and be forthright with it? I don't understand it. I say Americans first, and that means congressmen, senators, and representatives born in this country. Do you agree or not? Now, I'm not going to say it as a question because I know you're going to agree, because I know you. I listen to you all the time. You're all about America just like I am. The truth.
Well, Donnie, you have been listening to me, and you do know how I think. I agree. I think that having people who move here from other countries and then they run for office, I'm not sure about that. Donnie, I think you and I probably agree on that one. I want to get back just a few minutes here before we wrap up today, back to this race, this local House race that Diane Mitchell won. Diane is a conservative activist. She's been outspoken on a number of issues. She helped shepherd it, or is given credit to help with the 2022 gender sports bill in the State House. She testified a number of times in Columbia. So she was running as the experienced one. Even though she's never served there, she's been active in the process. Now, her opponent, Steve Nell, again, right now it looks like she won by 22 votes. Steve Nell is an attorney. He's dean of Anderson University's business school. As far as I know, he's had no experience in politics before, but he seemed to be a pretty smart guy. I was fortunate to moderate a forum with the four candidates that was in this race. This was a runoff yesterday. There were a lot of municipal elections yesterday, and I just don't have time to go through those. Of course, two of the more telling ones was in the city of Greenville, where a couple of Democrats were able to win those seats as well. Matt Alexander conceded the race for his city council, the seat that he was running for last night. Tina Belge won that one. It was the seat that Russell Stahl, who was a Democrat, was giving up. Incumbent Lillian Brott Fleming, who's been there for like 40 years, won re-election over a Republican challenger in her race as well. And I really thought there was a chance that Mike Kilgore, who was running against Lillian Brott Fleming, I thought there was a chance that he could win. The demographics have changed. There are more Republicans in that district, but it just wasn't in the cards. Brott Fleming easily won re-election with about, 62%. So not a change in the city of Greenville either. And again, there's just not enough time. There are a lot of other important races all around the upstate yesterday. And let me just encourage you to go online. You can go to sevotes.com org, and they have all the results for you. That's it for today's show. Tara's up next, followed by Mike Gallagher, Bill Frady, Charlie James. I'm back again tomorrow at 5 a.m. for your first cup of coffee in Sunrise, Carolina. Until then, folks, remember, God's got this. He's still in control. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.